All right, hello everybody. Welcome to today's digital event where we are partnered up with D5 today to bring you a good look into AI integration and a new era in visualization with D5. My name is Kelsey. I'm the Sales Operations Manager here at ArcVision. With me today, we have Corey Rubidoux, CEO of ArcVision, and Jeff Espinoza, Customer Success Manager for D5. Again, just wanted to welcome everybody, give you a little bit of a rundown of today's event. We will have a slideshow and a demo brought to you by D5, followed with a Q&A session today. We will have the chat feature turned off today. We will send you all some codes, some email support, so do keep an eye on that. But if you do have any questions during the event today, please feel free to use the Q&A feature in Zoom. And we will get to questions at the end and during the Q&A. If we do not get to the questions, don't worry, we will send you an email that you can send them to our teams later on. And there will be about 3 poll questions that you'll see pop up on your screen. We welcome you to participate. Just helps us to get to know who is joining us today. And with that, there we go. Sorry, there's a little visual for everybody. We are so excited again today just to dive a little bit deeper into getting to know D5, getting to know the AI capabilities. And I will turn it over to Jeff.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelsey, for that introduction. Let me just share my screen. Awesome. So again, thanks everyone for taking the time to join this webinar. We're really excited to announce our D5 Render partnership with ArcVision. Here at D5 Render, we're all about innovation and making our customers happy. And we know ArcVision feels the same way. So that's why I feel like this partnership is perfect. And this is exactly why we chose to team up with ArcVision as well, because they have an amazing track record for providing top-notch tools for architects and designers all over the world. Their technical support and customization options are fantastic, ensuring our clients get a smooth and outstanding experience. Plus, with ArcVision being a leader in 3D modeling, rendering, and asset management, especially with their RPC technology, which of course offers unmatched customization and rendering capabilities. We just can't wait to see how this collaboration will boost the capabilities and satisfaction of our users. And so with all that being said, I do want to, again, thank everyone for taking the time to join us, and we can get started with this webinar where we can learn a little bit more about D5 Render and what we have to offer. So D5 Render is a standalone visualization software, and we utilize real-time ray tracing or real-time rendering in order to provide you with the most unparalleled realism and speed. And we also offer a whole suite of features to ensure easy and rapid production. So here are just a few of the testimonials from some of our users. And as you can see, our customers are constantly highlighting our software's ease of use, the efficiency it brings to their workflow, and the exceptional support provided by our team. And so many of them are providing feedback on our latest like AI features, which we just recently rolled out and are always expanding on. So, we hope that these AI features are game changers for many of our users and will help them to better achieve high quality results at faster speeds. And so here are just a few, renderings and visuals that you can come to expect from D5 Render and as you begin to use D5 Render. So as you can see, we really support a wide range of settings and environments, including interiors, exteriors, and landscape renderings, as well as maybe some urban planning. So no matter what visualization project you're tackling, rest assured that D5 Render has all the tools and support in order to get you going. And so as I mentioned, since D5 Render is a standalone visualization software, what we do is we provide you with different plugins for your preferred modeling tool. And so with these plugins, you can pretty painlessly transfer all your geometry data from said software into D5 Render. And we also offer this live sync support for a select number of modeling apps. And so with this live sync support, you can work with 2 screens. You can have your modeling software on one screen D5 render on another. And whatever modeling updates you're making in your modeling software, they will instantly be updated in D5 render to help you, influence your design decisions. And so as of right now, we have a few LifeSync support. We support LifeSync for a few modeling softwares, but we're hoping to expand that list rapidly. And so another unique thing about D5 Render is that we do have this feature called D5 Render Teams. And so it's also subscription based. So this is a D5 Render Team subscription. And so with this feature, you get team management, so you can control all the different users in your project. You also have multi-editor so that you can split up a project into many different work sets. That way you can have multiple users working on the same project and building it up together. You also have a team library, so you can have a shared library of different assets that anybody in the team can jump into, grab the asset that they want, and apply it into their projects. And then lastly, we have this virtual tour feature. So users can select a couple different hotspots in their project, and per hotspot, D5 Render will render out a 360 panel, which can get uploaded into the cloud so that you can view your project in real time on, say, a site visit. And as I've been mentioning throughout this whole presentation, we do have a bunch of different AI features. And again, like these AI features aren't meant to take away any agency from the designers themselves. These are really meant to speed up their workflow. And so these are really more of workflow solutions. So some of these AI features are our AI enhancer, our AI atmosphere match, our AI generated texture maps. And again, like, we're talking about the Teams feature, we're talking about these AI features. And once we get into the demo portion of this webinar, we'll take a more in-depth look at what each feature provides. And so another great thing about D5 Render is that we are constantly updating and constantly evolving. So these AI features came about maybe 2 versions ago, maybe half a year ago. And so we're constantly updating new features. And so the latest one is this AI enhancer, which came out maybe a month ago. And so with AI enhancer, all you need to do is import your D5 rendered image. And then our AI enhancer will add even more details to your materials, to your characters, anything in the scene in order to, bring your rendering to that next level of realism. So it's a one-click solution. You don't have to take this into any post-production software. There's really not much work involved on your end. It's just hitting a button and it'll instantly take it to that next level. And so with all that being said, I'd like to transition over to D5 Render itself, and then we can start to take a look at some of those features. So here I have my D5 render scene pulled up, and I'll just go ahead and select this icon here in order to get rid of all my different light icons. And so the first features I want to highlight are our AI features. So the first one is this AI atmosphere match. So all you need to do here is just upload a reference image. So this could be a reference image that you found online, or maybe a client has a very specific look that they want you to go for. All they need to do is provide you with a JPEG file. You'll just upload it to this AI atmosphere match, and then you'll take a screenshot of your current viewport and you'll hit start generating. And all our AI is really doing is just comparing the two images, and then it's tweaking the different parameters in our environments and effects tab. So rather than this being a manual process that you might have to have done in the past, our AI is taking care of all of that for you. And so now that the comparison is done, I can go ahead and hit apply. And so the style will be migrated. And again, it's choosing it's choosing the best HDRI for you. It's changing your parameters, and it's also doing a general color correction pass on your whole image. And since this is actually going ahead and changing your parameters, you can always fine tune it a little bit more if you wanted to. So I can go ahead and change the white balance, get a little bit more of a blue tone. I can change the lookup table intensity. And then lastly, maybe I want to change the exposure just to make it look more like a nighttime rendering. And so once I'm happy with the results, I can go ahead and save this to my scene list. And once in my scene list, this is how we can start to combine our Teams feature and our AI features. Because now what we can do is we can right click and create a team preset. So this will now get saved into our team space. And now any other member of our team can go in here and start to apply these different presets to their scene. They can start to test them out, see which one works better. And as you can see, all they need to do is just double click and these presets will instantly transfer over. So that's how you can start to utilize our AI atmosphere match with our teams library to create this shared preset library. The other AI feature is related to material creation. So if I go ahead and zoom into this sculpture right here, I can go ahead and press the I key on my keyboard to bring up the eyedropper. And I'll just click on the sculpture. And I just want to reset the values here. So I'll just go ahead and hit custom and I'll start to delete all these different material channels. So now what I can do is I can import the texture file. And again, this could just be like a material spec that I found. It could also be just an image I found online. And so now that this material is transferred over, you'll notice that the quality is not high res enough. You're also getting repeatable tiling here. So you have this like hard seam on the texture. So we can start to implement our AI features by clicking on this icon here. And now we can make seamless. And with this feature, it'll automatically get rid of this hard edge for us. You no longer need to take this into any other like post-processing tools. You don't have to like blur it and do all these little tricks in order to get rid of that edge. You can just do that straight from D5. And now I can also click on Ultra HD texture. And so again, the idea here is that you really only need to focus on your rendering within D5. You don't need to take it into all these other third-party softwares. You can just handle all your visualization straight from D5 render. So now that it's applied my Make Seamless and my Ultra HD, now I can go ahead and click on this icon here, which will generate all these additional texture maps in order to create a higher level of realism for my textures. And so as this AI is thinking through things, it'll again apply my normals, my roughness, and my AO. So we'll just give that a little bit of time to think here. And so it looks like it's generated the channels. So again, I can go in here and change the roughness for my reflections. Since this is marble, maybe I want it to be a little bit more reflective. I'll tone down the AO. And again, maybe I want it to be a bit more smooth, so I'll tone down the normals as well. And once I'm happy with these results, like our presets earlier, I can go ahead and click on this icon and actually save it to my team space. So now anytime any other user wants to use the same marble texture that I just created, they just have to open up their asset library, go into team, and here in my materials folder, they can locate the marble texture that I just created and apply it to their scene. So again, even though this AI feature streamlined this material creation process, it only needs to be done once, and now any other user can reap the benefits of you having created that material. And since this was an AI generated material, I can always right click on these channels and hit file location. And so here are where those AI generated results live if you ever want to use them on another project or any other software as well. So those are two of our main AI features. The other AI feature I wanted to talk about is still in beta as of right now, which is this text to 3D. So D5 Render does offer a pretty massive asset library, close to 14,000 different assets. But if there is this niche asset that you want that you can't find in our asset library, you can click on this icon here, and then you can input a text prompt, a negative text prompt, and then you can choose the generative style that you want. So you can choose something like realistic or cartoonish. And then from here, it'll show up in your history channel where you can see a bunch of different iterations created by this AI. And you can choose to refine it, and then you can add it into your scene. So here I have this sculpture of David, which I can again just add into this museum scene. And maybe it's a sculptural piece right in the center of this lake area. I can just drag it into the center. I'll hit V, and just like that, I can upscale it. and add it into my scene. And as I mentioned, D5 Render's asset library is quite massive. So we have close to 14,000 different assets. So if you go into our online library, you'll have a bunch of different models. A lot of these are optimized for D5 render and they contain animations and they're also customizable. So if you find any furniture piece in here and you want to change the materials, you can go ahead and do that. We don't limit you based on, what you're seeing here. You can always go ahead and edit them further. And that's just the same for our materials. You can always apply these materials into your scene and then start to change the hue and saturation in order to get that desired look. We also provide you with a particle system here. So you can add some flying birds, maybe some balloons in order to make your scenes come to life. This new scatter feature and this HDRI feature. So while we do provide you with this large asset library, that's only, one part of the problem. The other one is, okay, now that I have this huge asset library, how do I start to populate my scene? And so we do provide you with a bunch of different tools here that you can utilize in order to quickly build out your scene, like these path tools to align characters along a path, as well as this brush tool and scatter tool for your foliage. And this new D5 scatter feature is actually quite innovative, and I'm happy to present it to you guys here. So all you need to do is just select material, and I can select this water feature here, and I'll create a scatter area. And so from here, all I need to do is just create a global preset. So I'll go ahead and select global scatter preset. And you can think of our global presets as just like the overall patterning and layout of our different foliage assets. So I'll do this checkerboard lawn here, for instance, and I'll just apply that to my scene. And once that's done, I'll just go ahead and close my asset library. So as you can see here, it's applied that checkerboard pattern. And what it's actually done is it's created two different sub areas. So I'll select my highlights and now I have sub area 0 and sub area 1. So what I can do is I can select sub area 0, select my content preset. So this will be the actual information on the different foliage assets, and I'll do wild grassland. And now that'll actually apply all these different wild grassland assets to that first sub area I selected, as you can see here. And so just by using our scatter feature, you can quickly build out a whole landscape environment. And it's pretty easy to do so. This is all actually being controlled by these preset images or these like high contrast images. And so since this is actually being controlled by just one image file, you can actually go in here and import your own custom image files. And our software will automatically detect the contrast values in your image and create these different sub areas, up to 10 different sub areas if you wanted to. So as you can see here, I have sub area 0 and 1, and here is that D5 render logo. So you can see how this image file is affecting my actual scatter area. So I can go ahead and again click on content preset, and maybe I'll select something like this floral hexagon turf, which will only be applied to this circle area here. And so as you can see here, in less than 5 minutes, I've already like created this whole articulate like landscape lawn or area lawn. And the other thing you might have noticed is that if I go over here into this walkway, it is now being completely covered by this scatter area. So the way to solve that would be by adding a culling effect. So if I go ahead and hide my scatter area, you'll see that there is this walk path that is being completely hidden. So I'll just bring back my scatter area and then I'll go into effects and I'll add a culling area. So I'll select my material, hit create. And now it completely got rid of that overlapping scatter area. And so you might want to do this for, again, like walkways, or if you want to create a smoother transition between the built environment and the landscape, you can utilize this culling effect, click on it, and then you can turn on a fall off area. So now I can increase my distance and start to play with these values in order to get a more natural fall off between the landscape and the hard environment. So again, it's a pretty powerful feature, but it's pretty intuitive and easy to pick up and can drastically change your design file. And so the other great thing about D5 Render is that since it is real-time visualization, what you're seeing here in your viewport is pretty much identical with what you can come to expect when you hit render. The level of fidelity might just be a bit sharper, a bit crisper, but there won't be any surprises at the end in terms of like, having to wait hours in order to see your final rendering, only to see that you completely forgot to turn on a material or something, Once it's showing up in your viewport, you hit render, and within a few minutes, you'll see the final results. And we actually provide you with a bunch of different export tools. So you can, of course, come into this image file here, or this image button here, in order to render out a flat image or a pano. And then, of course, we have a bunch of different channels to create these renderings. And where we really shine is, again, with animations. So what we do when it comes to animations is provide you with a bunch of different templates in order to make the animation process as seamless as possible. So all you need to do is just come here to your starting viewpoint, and then you can click on one of these templates. So I'll do this horizontal push. I'll increase my time or duration and change my distance traveled. And now it's applied that animation to my camera path. So the idea here is that you only really need to use a handful of these different templates in order to create something that's truly cinematic and ready to be rendered out and presented. And as you can see here, you can also add keyframes to your different geometry pieces to create effects like that, as well as adding keyframes to your sun for like more time-lapse animations. And lastly, the other AI feature I wanted to talk about is our AI enhancer. So this last AI feature is more closely related to post-production. So all I need to do is just render out this image. And once this image is rendered out, it'll show up in my history channel or my history window. And as I hover over each image, you'll see a button appear. So I just need to click on that button, and it'll bring up my AI enhancer, as you can see here. And so with this AI enhancer, I can do a specified partition if I only want to enhance certain elements of my rendering, or I can take a wholesale approach and enhance the whole rendering with this weak intensity, normal intensity, or strong. So I'll just bring up a couple examples of what these renderings look like. So here is a standard D5 rendering. And you can see that once I've added this AI enhancer, it'll go ahead and add some more details to the facial features, as well as the textures in my scene and the reflections. So again, this is the low intensity, and this is a standard image. And then I'll just toggle through the different intensity values. So here's low, medium, and strong. And so as you can see, the more intensity I add to my images, the more creative freedom this AI model takes. So you can always go ahead and do a more selective approach and just do AI enhancements on our assets. So everything is staying the same and consistent, but our assets are being enhanced. And so that wraps it up for our AI features. And I just want to cover this one last feature, which is our Teams feature. And so, as I mentioned, we do get this this shared folder library that any user can, build up and apply to their projects. But we also have this collaborative file that multiple users can jump on and work on. So in order to turn this project in particular into a Teams file, all I need to do is come up here, go into File and Multi-Editor Convert. And then from here, I can hit Assign. And so all I'm doing is creating different work sets, and you can think of these guys as different layers. And so I'll do architecture, landscape, and interior. And so now I just need to assign different objects from my scene into these work sets. And so generally we recommend that you do this at the start of your project so that you only have a handful of objects to sort through. And since I've already been developing this scene, I have to sort through all these different objects. So I'll just assign them to a work set for now, and then I'll hit save and convert project. So I'm going to close out of this for now so that we can open up our Teams project. So I'll open up my multi-editor convert project. And the first window that'll pop up will ask me which workset I want to jump into. So I can either jump into my central file or I can jump into the corresponding worksets. And I'll do landscape for now, and I'll leave my performance mode on. So with performance mode, that's just an option that we enable that, well, I like to enable just so that it doesn't have to load in any extra textures into my model. And that's a way to just like free up some resources while I'm working on my particular work set. And so we'll just give this a little bit of time to load, and then we can start to see like the true benefits and added value of D5 render teams. All right, so here is our Teams project. And so as I was saying earlier, since I'm only in my landscape work set, architecture is being rendered out as a white clay model. And so if I go into this drop-down menu, you'll see that landscape is editable and everything else is read-only. And I also have this little notification center here. So if we have two different users working on two different work sets, one user can finalize all their edits, they'll hit save on their project, and then I'll get a little notification letting me know that that project has been saved or that that work set has been saved, at which point I can click on this button here and update my scene in order to see all their changes reflected. I can also work non-destructively. So if I go into brush, I can just add a random tree into my scene and start to paint it in. So I can go ahead and paint into my landscape work set. And as soon as I hover over architecture, it's completely disabled. So this is how you can have a bunch of different users working on independent work sets and then have them all sync up to build out the project together. And if I'm just a project manager or I'm just overseeing this project, I have the option to just add comments to the scene. So I can go ahead and add a new comment. I can tag a user, I can add an image reference, and I can also tag where that comment lives. So if I have a bunch of different comments, I can just click on this icon and it'll take me straight to where that comment lives. So I know which particular tree to get rid of. And so to wrap things up, we have this Teams feature, which gives you a shared library. It gives you this collaborative file, and then it also gives you this auto tour feature. So all I need to do is go to different hotspots within my scene. And for every hotspot that I assign, D5 Render will generate a 360 pano. It'll upload it to the cloud and it'll generate a URL. So now I can actually share that URL link with another user, or I can take this out on a site visit and I can see all these design decisions live while I'm on my site visit.
Hey Jeff, I'm going to pause you just for a minute. We've had so many amazing questions coming in lately. And again, everybody, we will try to get to as many as we can during the Q&A. If you haven't asked a question, just reminders, you can view any that we have been able to answer through the session by hitting the answered option in the Q&A box. For those of you that aren't as familiar with the Q&A box, it should be at the bottom. Says Q&A right there. I click it and a little pop-up should come up for you. So please continue to submit these amazing questions. So all right, thanks. Back to you, Jeff.
No problem. Thanks, Kelsey. But that actually wraps up the demo portion of this webinar. I'll go back to my presentation. And so I hope that demo was informative, and I can't wait for all you guys to test out D5 Render, apply to your workflows and see just what great renderings you guys can come up with. And so if you take the time to scan this QR code, you can go ahead and fill out our quick survey, which should enable you to take this 7-day free trial of D5 Render Pro and test out some of our unique features. And again, test them out on some of your personal projects and see what kind of results you're getting. And to wrap things up, I just want to thank everybody again for taking the time to listen to me and to get to learn more about DeFi render. Thank you. And yeah, I'll hand it back to you, Kelsey.
Thank you so much, Jeff. That was amazing. So actually, if you don't mind though, I will, would you mind to pull up that QR code image real quick so that while we have a chance to go through as many of these questions, people can have a chance to click that. We have actually also shared the link in the chat, so you can go ahead and try to and fill out that form and enter for that chance to win a free trial. So again, we'll leave this up. If you've got your phone handy, you can go ahead and select the QR code. So I think, Corey, are you going to join us here? And I think, Jeff, if you are open, we're going to send some questions your way.
Okay, awesome.
Yes, I am here. So Jeff, there's a couple questions that came in that I think you might be able to answer better than any of us. One of the questions is, what are the competitive advantages of D5 render over other solutions on the market, such as Twinmotion and Enscape?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think it really depends on what your workflow is. I mean, the great thing about D5 Render is that we're constantly evolving, constantly updating. So we tend to have software updates within every quarter. And, these aren't just like bug fixes. These are like um, brand new features that will hopefully improve your workflow. So within the last month, we've released 2.8, which had our AI enhancer. And it also had live sync support for Rhino and Vectorworks. And again, we're planning on releasing a new update later on in September. So we're constantly evolving, constantly adding new AI features, and also adding to our asset library, which is almost at 14,000 different assets. So again, we like to listen to our users, and we're always updating based on what our user feedback is.
Great. Here's another one. Do you see a future where there'll be an integration with Reality Scan?
I'm not too sure. Yeah, that's something that I'll probably have to get back to you on. So that's reality scan?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll take a look at that and provide you more info.
We have Raul who asked about you mentioning the VR capabilities. Can you touch on some of the VR capabilities that you guys have and support and headsets and things like that?
Sure. So what we were looking at earlier was more of like our auto tour feature. And so that's something that could be viewed in browser or on a headset because these are really just like panel images. But if you do have like an Oculus or any other of those VR headsets, you can plug it straight into your machine. It will have to be tethered, and then you can actually view your space in real time in VR with all the animations and all the features that you've added in DeFi Render.
Okay. Couple other more technical questions. I'll just throw one at you just to see
Okay.
how this will go. Is there any way to control the scale and size of the sub areas? I'm not 100% sure what that means, but I'm assuming maybe that's just, can you just
Oh,
talk
are you
about?
talking about I guess I think they're referring to the scatter elements.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So you can. So again, like those different sub areas are all being dictated by like a 2D image. And so since it is a 2D image, we have a bunch of different like UV options to play with. So once you've added your UV, you can like size it to fit. You can like have it repeatable or tileable. And again, yeah, you can play with the UVs in order to change the scale.
How about this one? Do you have any options to change units between metric and imperial in D5?
Not as of right now. As of right now, we just have like our default metrics unit. So we have had other requests where people are like, can we swap it out? So I think that's something we're exploring, but nothing official yet.
So I think this is a pretty interesting question that to answer. So this question is from well, actually Bakinman.
Mhm.
How do you create work sets, landscape, and architecture separately?
Yeah, so it really depends on how you set up your project and your 3D modeling software. And so one of the great ways that we've been seeing our clients using work sets is if they have like collaboration with a bunch of different studios. So oftentimes these different studios don't always work within the same modeling software. You might have users in Rhino, you might have users in SketchUp or Revit. And so each modeling software tool will create their own export, and then each export can be its own work set. So, that's how we've seen users use it. But you can, of course, create work sets straight from like just one modeling software tool. So, um, you can just do separate exports from your modeling software into D5 Render, and then those can be split up into different work sets.
All right, I'm looking through a couple more of these here. Here's another one. What happens to projects that are on 2.7 that are in progress when you update to 2.8 in order to use the AI features?
Nothing happens. I mean, I've had a couple projects where I started them out in 2.7 and then I had to update to 2.8. And the process was pretty seamless. Only thing that might happen is you might have to download an asset or two, but other than that, yeah, it's a pretty seamless process.
Um, Ivan asks, can we expect it to package the project for viewing from Oculus Quest?
Um, I'm not too sure. So with the VR capabilities, I believe that that's something we released maybe like two software versions ago. And since then, we've like updated the quality so it looks a bit more refined and it's a bit more comparable to like what you're seeing in D5 Render in a desktop or in a laptop. And so yeah, we're always taking feedback on users and like what they want to see in VR. So yeah, so that's something that we can add to the list.
Um, how much more time do we have? I guess we have a few more minutes for a few more questions. Here's a question from Ricardo. How do you ensure consistency between the enhancements of different images within the same project using AI?
So if you're using that AI enhancer, you can do like the wholesale effect and enhance your whole image, or you can do the more selective approach so that the critical parts of the architecture aren't being altered. But if you do choose to enhance everything and then you want to go back to like that exact same enhancement, we have this seed system. So each AI enhancement has like seed number so and so. Just make sure to use that same number for your future AI enhancements, and they will, be pretty much identical each time.
Great. Here's a question from Jeff. Will LiveSync have the ability to sync with SketchUp scenes in the future? Right now, if I save a view in D5, it doesn't take into account what tags are on or off in this SketchUp scene.
I'm not sure. I'll have to do some exploration on that on my end. Typically I just do like the whole live sync approach. I haven't tested it too much with scenes. So I think that's something that I can get back to you. So that was Jeff.
Yes.
All right, cool.
Yeah. Uh,
Corey, I've seen a couple come in regarding collaborating with teams. For instance, Jeff has, how does D5 support collaboration for design teams? And then I had another one that kind of piggybacked into that. Could you collaborate with another consultant firm on the shared model with the multi-editor? So can you just speak a little bit more about using the multi-editors and then sort of the team's approach?
Sure. So right now, the D5 Render Teams approach does have a few limitations. Right now, it does need to be on a local server, and so it has to be on like a shared drive that everybody can access. So if you're working with consultants, assuming that you guys aren't in the same office or sharing the same network, so you might not be able to access the Teams project. But again, like this Teams feature is something that we just released maybe half a year ago. So we are looking to add even more collaborative features. So hopefully down the road, different studios can collaborate on the same Teams project. So yeah, I would just say stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for some more updates to come out.
awesome. Jeff, this is I'm kind of reading between the lines on one user one guest's questions, but is there a connection between Unreal Engine and D5 right now?
Connection. So how do you mean, like, I guess exporting your D5
Mhm.
render file to Unreal?
Or even vice versa, maybe. Is there any connection at all right now between Unreal
Yeah.
Engine and
All
D5?
right. So the way that D5 render works is just one-way traffic. So anything that you bring into D5 render will live within D5 render with the caveat of the AI generated texture maps. So those can be right-clicked, then it'll take you to your folder. But everything else is its own like D5A file, which is native to D5 render. But if you do want to bring in any other, but if you do want to bring in like Unreal Engine to D5 render, I would say you can just export it as an FBX and then import it into D5 render, since we do natively support FBX, SketchUp files, D5A, and Alembic files.
Awesome. Uh, Looking at a couple other questions here.
And while Corey reviews some of those, we had one from way earlier. Could you share some notable success stories or case studies where D5 AI worked to enhance that creative workflow?
Yeah, sure. So we've had a couple different users that, large firms that are oftentimes having to onboard multiple users quite frequently. And so with the different like standardization tools within D5 Render, they are able to quickly and efficiently do so. And they can create like their whole like studio standards. So it's really easy to communicate with other team members, just like the desired outcome of each rendering. So um yeah, I think we've heard a ton of different success stories from users who are all saying the same thing, that it's helped to like speed up their workflow, speed up their efficiency, and create design standards.
Jeff, I've got a question here from Felipe. When exporting from the modeling software, does D5 read every element as an entity or collapse it into materials, or do you have control how the export is packaged up?
Sure. So we offer multiple different workflow options. So the default workflow is to just, once you have your plugin installed for your particular modeling software, you'll just hit the D5 render icon and it'll automatically export everything into D5 render as a single object. And within that single object, all your different geometry pieces are grouped by materials. But that's just like the default workflow. The other workflow option that we have is to export by individual assets. And so that way, every geometry piece comes in as a separate object in D5 render. And the added value there is that you can always like right click it, and then you can do like replace from assets in order to swap out any geometry pieces with one of our high quality D5 render assets. So again, you don't have to like bog down your modeling software tool with high quality assets. You can leave that to D5 render to handle.
Okay. Here's a question from Hugh. Can you save libraries of materials and presets without having the team subscription?
Um, I guess you could create a D5 render file with all your different geometry pieces and materials, and just have users open up that file and save that all out into their local library. But I think with the teams folder, it just streamlines that workflow. Or I guess you could also use the migrate feature to migrate that project to that master file to your current project.
Uh, okay, here's another one. Does D5 support USD file format? If not, is it on the roadmap?
USD.
Yep, USD.
Um, Not that I'm aware of. I'll have to get back to you. I know that we are looking into potentially implementing OBJs, but I'm not too sure about USD.
Uh,
Speaking of roadmap, are there any new features on the D5 roadmap?
For sure, yeah. Like as I've mentioned, we're always updating like once every quarter. So honestly, I just like with all these new AI features, it's made my life a whole lot easier. So I just can't wait to see what other AI features DeFi Runner comes out with. So I think that's really what I'm most interested in at the moment.
uh, there's a handful more. Um, Just looking through here. Here's a question. The AI enhanced images with real characters that is in beta has problems with hands, feet, and hair. Will we see improvements for this later down the road?
Yeah, for sure. So since it's in beta, like we're really open to like user feedback, and that's something that we've been hearing a lot about. So yeah, I think we're definitely looking to improve that in the next iterations.
And Jeff, would you mind to go ahead and move to that last slide? That way everybody has the emails. Remember, if we do not get to your questions today, please feel free to email either the D5 team or the ArcVision team. And we'd love to help you out and get you some answers.
Yeah, there are a lot more questions here. There's still about 24 more questions here. We won't get to them all, and some of them I'm not trying to censor out the questions, but we'll have to, I know already we'll have to answer them through email. So
Yeah, no, I love the enthusiasm though.
yeah, exactly. It's great. Here's a question. I see that there are two different two D5 render plugins for Rhino. What's the difference between the D5 Live Sync for Rhino and the D5 Sync for Rhino?
Right. So for the D5 render live sync, any modeling changes that you do in Rhino will automatically translate to D5 render. Whereas with the old Rhino plugin, every time you made a modeling change that you wanted to see in D5 render, you would just have to press that sync button. So again, it's a pretty painless workflow, but with this new live sync feature, we made it even more streamlined so that you can see all your modeling design choices in D5 render instantly.
Okay. Let's see here. Is it possible to map commands like interface buttons to the keyboard shortcuts for faster workflows?
Um, So what you can do, yeah, you can go into your preferences, and then from there you can map different shortcuts to different keys. And so yeah, you can always remap your shortcuts.
Okay. This is a pretty interesting one, simple but interesting, I'd say. In future updates, will we have the ability to possibly will we have the possibility to create 3D text in a
Mm.
simple way using different text fonts?
I don't see why not. Yeah, that's definitely something we can add to the feedback and see if that's something we can do in a later iteration.
It'd be great for like signage and things like that.
Yeah.
Tim has a good question here. How bright can the sunlight get without washing out colors or just distorting tones?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, yeah, because I know that that's like an issue that other users have had with like exterior renderings where it's like the sun is too overpowering and might just blow out your image. So what we've done is we've added like different like highlight, um, yeah, we've added like highlights, midtones, and all of those parameters in your effects tab so that now if like you have an overexposed sun, you can always like limit just how overexposed those highlights are so that you can retain some of those details in your material. So yeah, we do offer a bunch of different like parameters controls in order to like alleviate that. And again, like honestly, with this new AI atmosphere feature, I haven't even had to like play too much with my son or like any like presets like that. I just leave it all up to my AI atmosphere match.
Um, Another question, can you toggle between different work sets and make edits when working on a team model?
No, so yeah, once you jump into a work set, you're locked to that work set up until you close out that file and open up a separate work set.
Okay. Uh, I think we're closing in here. Here's another one, question from Michelle. When batch rendering, why does D5 put random numbers at the end of the file name? And then won't overwrite when ran again.
Oh, I see. Uh, I'm not sure, maybe that's a bug, but I'll have to take a look at that. But yeah, when you do your batch export, you do have a prefix option, so you can always like choose how these different batch files are being named when they're exported. But yeah, maybe that's something I'll have to take a look at to see if I can get the same error.
Corey, you think we got time for one more?
Let's see here. Brendan Pace says, piggybacking on how the plugin exports a model, does the material still update across every object, even when exporting where each object is separated?
Um, I'm not sure I understand the question, but I mean, I'm interpreting that question two ways. So I think you're talking about like multiple textures on one mesh. Like, yeah, D5 render will differentiate all those different textures from one mesh. And also if you like keep re-exporting from your modeling tool to D5 render and you keep like updating the material names in your modeling software, D5 render will pick up that difference. If there's no difference being made in your modeling tool, then D5 render won't affect that material so that you don't have to do any work twice. Yeah, you just have to assign materials in your modeling tool, and then D5 render can pick up and read those differences.
Okay. Uh, D5. So maybe Kelsey, you can touch on this in a second, but there's a general question here about the 14-day gift. In the 14-day gift draw, can everyone participate or can only people with professional accounts participate? I think this is open to anyone who attended this webinar today. It doesn't matter. Just fill in the form and the D5 team will evaluate.
I'd say, Corey, it's got about 5 minutes till, so I'd say if you want to pick us out one more good one to end on.
There's still about 28 left. They keep coming in, so I'd say we can close it off here. I suppose I don't know if we can pick up any more at this point.
Well, again, we just want to thank everybody for participating today, especially you, Jeff. That again, that was just, it was eye-opening. That was exciting. I'm sure everybody else is super excited. We've shared some links in the chat. Please, again, take a look at those. A big thing to say, we are recording this. Please check out the ArcVision YouTube channel. In the next couple of days, you will see this uploaded. So if you want to revisit anything, even any of the questions, that'll be available for you to see. And Jeff, any closing words?
No, I just want to thank everybody for taking the time to join and, being actively engaged and asking all those great questions. Thank you, everybody. And thank you to ArcVision for having me here and giving me a chance to talk about D5 render.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate your time today too.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of your day.